Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going deep into A Thousand Brains by Jeff Hawkins.
Oh, this is a good one.
It is. I was really excited to get into this one. And we've got his book, obviously,
Right.
and a great YouTube summary that kind of lays out the big ideas really nicely.
Perfect.
So to set the stage, Hawkins, he's not just some, armchair theorist.
Right.
The guy invented the Palm Pilot.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Huge. Right, like totally changed how we thought about mobile devices.
For sure.
And now he's running this company, Numenta, all about brain theory.
So he's the real deal, not just speculating.
Exactly, and that's what makes this so fascinating. He's basically saying our understanding of how the brain works needs a total overhaul.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's wrong with our current understanding?
Well, most of us have heard that left brain, right brain stuff.
Yeah, like creative versus logical.
Right, but Hawkins is like, that's way too simplistic.
Okay.
He even challenges the hierarchy model, like information flows in a neat little line.
So what does he propose instead?
Get this. The brain is constantly predicting.
Predicting. You mean like what's going to happen next?
Not just future stuff, but like right now, what we're experiencing.
That's wild. Give me an example.
Okay, imagine you see a table set for dinner,
Okay, go
but
ahead.
you only see part of it, like a plate, a fork. Your brain instantly fills in the rest. Glasses, napkins, you name it.
So instead of passively taking in what's there, our brains are actively filling in gaps based on what we expect.
Exactly. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. This prediction model explains so much about how we make sense of the world with limited data.
So it's not just about saving processing power. It's about actively constructing our reality based on our past experiences.
Right. And the key player in all of this is the neocortex, the thinking part of our brain.
Okay, so how does this prediction machine actually work?
Well, Hawkins says the neocortex is made up of about 150,000 of these things called, wait for it, cortical columns.
150,000. That's a lot of columns.
Right. And get this, each one acts like a mini brain.
Mini brains, like little independent thinkers running around in our heads.
Kinda. They each get sensory input, build their own little model of the world.
Hold on, so I have 150,000 mini models of the world in my head right now.
Yeah, it's wild, right? And then all these mini brains are constantly comparing notes like, hey, I think that's a coffee cup. And another one's like, nah, I think it's a teacup. And somehow out of that debate, our consciousness emerges.
Whoa, that's mind-blowing. So our conscious experience is the result of all these mini brains battling it out in a grand neural parliament.
It's a pretty crazy idea, right? But it explains so much about how we think, learn, and even why we sometimes feel conflicted or indecisive.
So it's like a democracy of mini brains, constantly voting on our reality.
I love that. A democracy of mini brains. And that actually brings up a really interesting point. What happens if one of these mini brains, malfunctions or makes a bad prediction?
Yeah, is there like a system crash? Blue screen of death for the brain?
Actually, that's one of the coolest parts of this theory. Because the system is so distributed, if one column goes down, the others can pick up the slack.
So it's built for resilience. No single point of failure.
Exactly. It's like having a backup generator for your brain.
Makes sense. Our brains have evolved to be incredibly robust, constantly bombarded with new information and potential errors.
Right. It can handle a lot of noise and still function.
This neocortex sounds pretty impressive, but it can't operate in a vacuum, right? It needs to connect to the real world somehow.
You are so right. That's where the old brain comes in, the evolutionarily older parts that handle stuff like breathing, basic instincts, and all that.
So it's like the foundation upon which the neocortex builds its grand symphony of thought.
Yeah, like the old brain is the stage crew, making sure the lights are on, the sound is working, while the neocortex is up there performing.
I like that analogy. But it's not just a one-way street, right? There must be some interaction between these two parts of the brain.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just that the old brain sends stuff up and the neocortex does its thing. Everything flows through the old brain. It's a constant loop of feedback and refinement.
So even our most complex, abstract thoughts are still being shaped by those basic primal instincts.
It's kind of unsettling, isn't it? Like, how much control do we really have over our own minds if our lizard brain is always whispering in the background?
It raises some profound questions about the nature of free will and consciousness.
Definitely something to ponder. But before we get too deep into the philosophical weeds, let's zoom back in on those cortical columns for a minute.
Okay, let's get microscopic. What's going on inside those mini brains?
That is a great question, and it's exactly where we're headed next. So buckle up, because things are about to get even more mind-blowing as we dive deeper into the fascinating world of reference frames.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, so last time we left off with these cortical columns, each building their own models of the world.
Right, like little universes inside our heads.
But how do they actually represent and understand what's going on? Like, how does a mini brain know what a coffee cup I is S, you know?
Well, this is where things get really cool. Hawkins talks about these reference frames.
Reference frames. Sounds kind of technical.
It is, but think of it like a mental map. You know how you have a mental map of your house? You can walk around in the dark and still know where everything is?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, Hawkins says our brains create these kinds of maps for everything.
Wait, for everything. Like, there's a map for coffee cup in my brain.
Exactly. Your brain stores all this information about a coffee cup shape, size, color, even how it feels in your hand.
And that's all in this reference frame.
Right. It's like a blueprint that lets your brain instantly recognize and understand what a coffee cup is, even if you've never seen that particular one before.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
But what about abstract ideas? Like, how do you make a map for something like democracy or love?
Now, that is the million-dollar question. And Hawkins' answer is pretty mind-blowing. He says we create multi-dimensional reference frames for those too.
Multi-dimensional, like more than just up, down, left, right.
Exactly. It's like adding layers of meaning to the map. So for democracy, you might have one layer representing voting rights, another layer for freedom of speech, and so on.
So it's like taking these intangible ideas and grounding them in something our brains can handle, spatial relationships.
Right. It's kind of like a metaphor, translating something complex into a form we can grasp.
I like that. It's like our brains are constantly creating metaphors to understand the world.
Exactly. And that's why metaphors are so powerful. They tap into this fundamental way our brains make sense of things.
This is all so fascinating, but how does it connect to AI? Like, if our brains are doing all this mapping and referencing, does that mean we need to build AI differently?
That's Hawkins' big argument. He says the way we're building AI now is fundamentally flawed. It's not how brains actually work.
So, like, we're trying to build a bird by looking at how planes fly.
Perfect analogy. Brains learn through interaction, building these models through reference frames. Most AI is just trained on static data.
So we're teaching it to parrot information instead of truly understanding it.
Exactly. Hawkins says we need AI that can explore, experiment, and make predictions just like we do.
That sounds amazing, but also kind of scary. I mean, if we build AI that's more like us, won't it inherit our flaws too? Our biases, our capacity for, doing dumb stuff.
That's a huge GE question, and one that Hawkins doesn't shy away from. He says the real danger of intelligence isn't some super smart AI going rogue. It's us.
Wait, seriously? So we should be more afraid of ourselves than of some Terminator scenario?
Think about it. Most of the bad stuff in the world is caused by human actions. War, pollution, all driven by fear, greed, those kinds of things.
Yeah, our old brain instincts, as Hawkins calls them.
Exactly. And he says even with all our fancy neocortex thinking, those old brain impulses can still hijack us.
It's like giving a toddler the keys to a nuclear reactor, right?
A terrifyingly accurate analogy. Hawkins says understanding this interplay between old brain and new brain is crucial for the future.
So it's not just about making AI smarter, it's about making us wiser.
You got it. It's about recognizing how our basic instincts can mess with even our best intentions.
Wow, this is giving me a lot to think about. But hey, hasn't human intelligence also done some amazing things like art, music, all that good stuff?
Absolutely. Hawkins doesn't deny that. Our capacity for creativity and compassion is undeniable.
So there's hope. It's not all doom and gloom.
Right. The challenge is to cultivate those good qualities, to guide the evolution of intelligence, both biological and artificial, towards a positive future.
Sounds like a tall order, but how do we even begin to do that?
Hawkins says the first step is understanding how our brains work. By figuring out those mechanisms, we can start to see our own strengths, any weaknesses, our biases, all that.
So like self-awareness on a massive scale.
Exactly. And then we can use that knowledge to make better choices about how we build and use AI.
It's like we need a whole new approach to education. Not just filling our heads with facts, but actually learning how to think critically, how to be wise,
I couldn't agree more. We need to equip ourselves to navigate this increasingly intelligent world, to sift through information, to choose collaboration over conflict.
And to make sure technology serves humanity, not the other way around. This is heavy stuff. But before we get completely lost in the existential dread, I have to ask, is Hawkins' theory actually catching on? Is there evidence to back it up?
It's still relatively new, but it's definitely shaking things up in the neuroscience world. Some people are skeptical, of course.
Right, like this guy's a computer dude. What does HE know about brains?
Haha, yeah. But a lot of researchers are finding evidence that supports his ideas. This whole idea of the brain being a prediction machine and those cortical columns being the key players.
So it's not just some wild theory, there's actual data to back it up.
It's looking more and more like he's onto something big.
This is seriously mind-blowing stuff. But even if Hawkins is right, understanding the whole brain, every little detail, that seems like a huge task, right?
It is. But Hawkins says we don't need to map every single neuron to build intelligent AI.
Really? We can skip some steps.
He thinks we can focus on the core principles. Like, how does the brain learn? How does it build those models of the world? If we can figure that out.
We can apply those principles to machines, kind of like reverse engineering intelligence.
Exactly. And he thinks those cortical columns and reference frames hold the key to unlocking those secrets.
This is seriously making my head spin, but in a good way. It's so exciting to think about the possibilities.
It is. And it also makes you realize how much we still don't know about our own brains.
Yeah, we're just scratching the surface here, but the journey is just beginning, and I have a feeling things are going to get even more interesting from here on out. So it seems like we're on the edge of this huge technological shift.
Yeah, it's exciting. But it definitely makes you think about the ethics, you know.
Big time. If we're talking about AI that can learn and adapt like humans, doesn't that mean we got to be super careful about how we raise it?
Hawkins is all over that. He's basically saying building these machines, it's not just about the tech anymore.
Right, it's almost philosophical.
Exactly. We're creating a new kind of intelligence. And that comes with a huge responsibility.
So it's not enough to make AI smart, got to make it wise.
That's the goal. But even defining wisdom is tough, let alone programming it.
I mean, humans haven't exactly mastered wisdom, right? Can we really expect machines to do better?
It's a good point. But Hawkins thinks even trying to build wise AI can teach us something.
Oh, I like that. So it's like a mirror reflecting back on our own values.
Yeah, it forces us to confront our limitations, to really examine what we believe in.
It's like that saying, to teach is to learn twice over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the stakes are high. Hawkins says AI has the potential to magnify everything about us, the good and the bad.
So it could help us solve climate change or make it worse.
It all depends on the choices WE make right now, what we prioritize, how we guide its development.
Feels like we're at a fork in the road, and one path leads to utopia, the other, not so much.
Hawkins isn't laying out some grand plan, but he does stress open discussion, you know, thinking critically, not taking anything for granted.
So more conversations like this one, getting people thinking about the ethics of AI.
Exactly. Everyone needs to be involved in this. It's not just for scientists and tech people anymore.
This is impacting all of us, that's for sure. And it's not like we can just hit pause on progress, right?
Nope. Hawkins reminds us we're not just along for the ride. We're shaping this future with every choice we make.
Man, that's both empowering and kind of terrifying at the same time.
Definitely both. But at least we have agency, right? We can choose to steer things in a good direction.
Well, that's a hopeful note to end on. This has been an incredible deep dive. And for anyone who wants to go even further down the rabbit hole,
You got to check out 1,000 Brains. Seriously, it'll change how you think about, well, thinking.
it's a challenging read, but so worth it. It really makes you appreciate the power and potential of, the stuff between our ears.
And the possibilities that are out there as we learn more about intelligence, both human and artificial.
Thanks for joining us on this journey, everyone. We hope you've enjoyed it.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts. What questions does this raise for you? What kind of future do you want to see for AI? Let us know.
Until next time, keep those 1,000 brains of yours firing. And remember, the future is what we make it, so let's make it a good one.